Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians. I never thought about how difficult that title is to say before. I guess there's a first for everything. But yeah, and joining me today is Russell. Hello, Russell.
Guys.
Right on. We always start with going through the different websites that we recommend for information, of course, and we do this every time, just like a private lesson, right? We just emphasize a lot of the same information and sources, at least, because the information does change, but the sources, and particularly the most credible sources, are kind of the same from week to week. So. The best place for information about unemployment in Texas is the TWC website, the Texas Workforce Commission website, which is twc.texas.gov. That's where they post all the most up-to-date stuff. It can be hard to find because it's a very Windows 98 sort of looking website, but there's a lot of information on there, and that's where the most current stuff is. We'll have some links from that website. They also have a Facebook page, it's Texas Workforce Commission, all one word, after facebook.com. And that's where they do their news, their press conference every other day or so on there, and that can be a source of information. Although you cannot submit your own question, you have to submit a question to a journalist and have them ask it for you. And the comment stream, there is a comment stream, but man, it's still just flying by on the side, and folks they're still pretty angry a lot of times. So yeah, it's they're catching up, but there's a lot of folks that still need help, a lot. There's also our Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page on Facebook, and you can find that from our locals Facebook page. We're AFM Local 433, or the Austin Federation of Musicians, and you can find us on Facebook as well, and there's a link to our unemployment information sharing page, and that's where we kind of copy all the links that we think are relevant from TWC and the local news. There's also our local union's COVID-19 resources page for musicians, and that's at afm433.com/COVID-19, and that's got all of our best resources online for musicians during this time. We're trying to keep that list short because a lot of the lists are getting to be thousands of links now. We always talk about Who Represents Me, and that's that's a website where, in the state of Texas at least, you can find out who represents you in the Texas legislatures, in the national legislatures, and also I believe the state school board, and that's WRM for Who Represents Me. .capitol.texas.gov, And then we also have some links in the notes about the various letter writing and petition campaigns from the AFM specifically about unemployment, about assistance for the entertainment industry. There's a link to the Red Alert Day of Action and the Save Our Stages campaign, which is about venues as well. Sometimes we're on the opposite end of the table from venues, of course, because they're often our employers that we're bargaining with. But in this case, we're trying to work together so everyone can survive this pandemic. So. Yeah. And then the next segment we usually do beverages. I'm doing coffee once again with my Inland Lakes Bulldogs
Water.
mug. What you got?
Good old water.
Natural spring water there. Beautiful.
Natural spring water.
Excellent. Excellent. The beverage of life. I love it. Yeah. You can email questions as a viewer. You can email questions to the Unemployment Advisory Committee at our email address, which is just ucac@afm433.com. But you can also put a link or a question on our Facebook page in the comments for these videos. We'll usually see them. You can send us a message on Facebook as well if you have a question or an issue or a piece of information that you think this broadcast or this committee should talk about or should know about. We'd love to hear about that too. It's all about sharing information, especially during this time. But even during the good times, sharing information is the only way for us to really succeed as an industry, because our employers tend to take advantage of our division, of our divisiveness. So the solidarity is really the best way to do it. So yeah, well, gosh, I think Russell, we were going to talk about a couple of things. We definitely need to talk about the LWA, which is the Lost Wages Assistance Program, and how that it seems to have come to an end now, or they've run out of money, I guess, because that was coming from the FEMA budget, and we did get that in Texas for a while. I guess it's August 1st through September 5th is the time. So if you haven't made your payment request, if you're on unemployment assistance for those dates yet, do that. And some of it should be backdated. They're thinking it might be backdated, but the weeks after September 5th, there won't be.
There's no funding. Yeah.
There's no funding for it anymore, and it seems like we should have known that because it was coming from the FEMA budget, and it's hurricane season right now. Wow.
Yeah.
And I suspect, of course, that was known. But now we know that, after the week of September 5th, that funding won't be there anymore. So now we're on to the next things. Yeah. Gosh. What we were talking about, it's kind of all in the Senate now, right?
Yeah, that's kind of where it is. I mean, the Senate has the authority to refund that FEMA bill anytime they want to. It's just a matter of them deciding to do it.
Right. Yeah. They could add funding to that source. They could also pass the HEROES Act that the House
exactly.
The House passed like almost 5 months ago now.
Yeah.
That's been sitting on their desk, and that would continue the $600 a week, which would be much better.
Yeah, they do have some options to provide aid that they're just simply not moving on.
They're not willing to do. Yeah. They did pass. It's kind of all eyes on the Senate. They did pass.
Yeah.
Or they didn't pass. They voted on what they called the skinny stimulus last week, which is a detractive name, I suppose. But and I think that was going to be an extension of the $300 a week,
which had no
boost.
chance of passing.
Yeah,
and the president even said he wasn't.
He said he wasn't going to do it even. Yeah,
so.
And that seems like, and it didn't pass anyway.
Yeah,
they couldn't muster the votes to even pass that, which is a much smaller plan. But they couldn't pass that. I think the speculation is that the senators really, particularly the Republican senators, wanted something that they could vote on before they go back to their districts and try to get reelected, because some of them, about half of them, are up for reelection this fall.
And what they really are looking at is the least amount of liability for businesses as possible.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the sticking points
Yep.
on the Republican side. Yeah, that they want to have some sort of liability waiver for employers, not
Yeah.
only so that employees can't hold their employers accountable for safety from COVID, but also that if their current proposal was so that if an employee spoke up about unsafe working conditions due to COVID, that employer could sue the worker.
That's right. That's right.
What? Yeah. So
Go figure. I mean, that's just
that
a horrible idea, and
that seems untenable. Yeah.
how that even is on somebody's desk is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just leads us back to we all got to vote
Yes.
in November. It's
Yes.
coming.
Need to make your outrage known.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which, the voting period. I mean, I would not wait to the last minute. I mean, early voting, however you want to do it by mail, go first.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And there's also because there's going to be more people voting early. There's going to be more people voting by mail. There's going to be more absentee voting.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting the word out about election night that we're not going to know the result on election night,
Right.
unless there's just a giant landslide. We're really not going to know the result until several days later, because mail-in votes, absentee votes, even early votes are not normally counted on election night. They're counted after.
Right. Right.
And that's how most of us are going to. Well, maybe not most of us, but a lot more of us than usual are going to vote that way.
So it'll take some time to know what changes have been made.
Yeah, we have to be ready to wait to hear that news and not flip out on election night. Yeah. Yep.
And not let the news tell you, Dewey won.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Don't believe the hype.
You wake up and he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have to expect to not be able to know the results on the night of. Like we usually kind of know. I mean, usually they can statistically calculate. Okay, that there's no way that this is wrong now. We know enough. But that's because normally the majority is in-person voting, and those all get reported on election night. But yeah, that's just not going to happen this time. So yeah.
And there also is now a punishment for electoral fraud. If the will of the people is omitted, there can be a turnabout now. There can be something done about that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more attention focused on that now, which is good.
Sure, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, so we talked about that. It's important to vote. Who are we voting for in Texas?
We have
one of our state senators is up.
One of our state senators,
which is Cornyn, John Cornyn.
John Cornyn is the representative that's there.
Yeah.
The governor and the lieutenant governor are not on the ballot this time.
Mm-hmm. But that's the big one. Our senator, right, is currently John Cornyn. It's M.J. Hagar is the Democratic opponent, a Democrat opponent, and so.
A fellow veteran.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Very important to vote.
Yes.
Out there. Yeah. For sure, as well as for president, of course.
Yeah.
But all the smaller races that also are there. Our Texas state senator is also on the vote. I think in Austin here.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So.
Because Mr. Watson is leaving now.
Yes, has already left. Yeah.
He's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're actually without one right now. I think technically. Yeah. So. Yeah. We've been communicating with Judith Zaffarini's office, who is the state senator for part of Austin, like just the southeast corner. Then her district goes way down to like Laredo, way down there. It's stretched way out like a big candy cane or something.
That's not gerrymandering. That seems logical.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, gosh, we gotta fix that gerrymandering. Holy cow! And I don't know how long that's going to take, but we've got to vote people in that are interested in doing that.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, huge stakes this year. The other thing I guess we didn't talk about was with the problem solvers. There is a problem solvers group.
Yes.
Is that in the House of Representatives? It's like
Well,
25.
they're saying that it's a bipartisan group. There
Yes.
there there are House members. There are supposedly other cabinet members who have left and have become disgruntled who are joining this group. Uh, I know there's a sitting senator right now who is wanting to join that group,
Hmm.
and that's he ran against President Obama. I can't think of his name now.
Uh,
What is his name? The corporate raider.
oh yeah, yeah. I can't think of it now too. From Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney. That's him.
That's who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So
Hmm.
he vehemently opposes the current administration's policies.
Mm-hmm. Encouraging. Yeah. So that's a group of originally was 25 Democrats, 25 Republicans that came up with I guess a skinny stimulus that wasn't quite as skinny. It was a little fatter than the other one, a little bit curvier, but I guess what you were saying that the president's indicated that he doesn't support what they're doing either.
Yeah, he said that's a no go.
So we don't know. I think their
Yeah,
their their proposal for unemployment was I think
yeah.
$450 a week, which is in between 300 and 600. So
So let's meet him halfway. But
I mean that would be better than zero, which is
it
what we
would
have
be.
now. As far as I mean, we're not getting zero with unemployment, but it's zero boost from the federal government, whereas we were getting $600 boost before, and then $300 for 5 weeks from FEMA. But yeah.
And the numbers are just not there to override a veto, and he knows that. They
Hmm.
know that, so they're sitting comfortable.
That's right. Yeah, they have to have that super majority to override the
Mhm.
veto, and they don't have that either. Um, yeah, it's really disheartening that it's coming down to
It's really
things like that.
just a quagmire where government has really stopped working.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen this before, but I mean, this is horrible. I mean,
yeah, yeah. It's almost like a shutdown, and
yeah,
I mean that may happen too if there's still this kind of gridlock when they have to do budget appropriations for just the government itself.
yeah,
So it's still yeah, it's a scary year out there, and the hits keep coming, right?
yeah. It really is. I mean, you wake up and every day it's something else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Um, well, one of the other things that we talked about a couple weeks ago was private lesson income. We had some questions actually come in because now's the time. When school starts. Traditionally, this time of
That's
year
true.
we pick up some students. Those of us that teach, and it's a very good time to do that. Folks are starting school and they think, oh, I want to take some lessons. Great, get them in there. Book those lessons.
Sure.
But if you're on unemployment assistance, you do have to report that income. And folks have asked about, oh, is there a threshold? Is there a certain amount I can make before I have to report? Um, and the short answer really is no. There's a
No.
threshold, but it's of the amount you can make. It's not there. You have to report everything that you make
Sure.
when you're on unemployment assistance. So we don't want people to get in trouble that way. But there is a threshold, and it's on the TWC website. We've linked to it, I think 2 weeks ago. But it's like like 25% of your base benefit or something. You can make up to that amount before it starts to affect your benefit. and then it
Right.
starts to go down according to how much you make. Um, so, and that could affect your LWA eligibility. The lost wages
Sure.
assistance that did require you to make at least $100 from the state. So if it dropped down below that, you wouldn't receive the boost for that week, just during those 5 weeks, which ended on September 5th, or the week of September 5th. So
Yeah.
not
You're
as,
playing a high stakes game of chicken with the IRS.
yes, yeah, you don't want to do that either. Yeah, yeah, we do always recommend that you have the TWC take out taxes. Take out the withholding taxes on there, so you don't have to worry about that at the end of the year. But that is up to the individual, of course, as well.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's kind of the skinny with that, with private lessons coming back. Yeah. Don't fail to report the income,
Right.
because it's very important to be accurate and forthright with everything. With the
Because they're
family
going to
member.
know.
Yeah, they're going to find out. It's all
Yeah.
attached to your social number somewhere.
Yep.
So yeah, yep, yeah. So yeah, man. Well, what about the reopening? Of course, there was a little
That's
bit of
right.
news yesterday from the governor's office about reopening, quote unquote, a little bit wider. They talked about the announcement talked about what is it?
70%.
Businesses, yeah, it's businesses that are already 50% can go to 75%. I think is what it is, but it still doesn't include bars.
Right.
And so we still have some bars they're trying to qualify as restaurants in order to open back up, and um, trying to sort of meet the standards for a restaurant, or a food handler's permit, I think is what it's called. Um, and so there is some work coming in, with places that have been able to do that and places that are in fact restaurants. But I haven't really heard of the musicians really making that much money um, on that type of work. But I don't know. Yeah,
Well, like you said, the audience either.
yeah. The audience is not really able to return, especially at 50%. Now, at 75%, I mean, I think
Yeah.
all of us have played gigs that are 75% full or less. That's for sure. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
so, I mean, maybe it's possible, but we want to encourage everyone to be safe. Um, Follow the AFM guidelines. Oh, that's something we could mention in the show notes. There are AFM guidelines for nightclubs. Well, they're mainly for studios, but they're for small spaces, really. I don't think there are actually official guidelines for nightclubs yet. But they are, yeah, for studios and rehearsal halls, I think.
And you
Came
really
out.
should adhere to those.
Yeah.
They're structured to basically look out for your health.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's I've got it here. It's guidelines for small venues, studios, and rehearsal spaces. So it does mention small venues. So,
Yeah.
and you can get that at a PDF. It's at afm.org under returning to work safely, and that's open for everyone. So please use those guidelines in addition to the state guidelines. Know what those
Right.
are.
Right.
Yeah, and of course with
Could
small
not be too
venues,
safe.
yeah, with small venues, the blunder we keep seeing is the table service thing. They really got to have table service, but it requires
Yeah.
more employees. You have to have more wait
Right.
staff to do it. But if you have that open bar, that's where everybody smushes up.
And then there's that liability thing again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Don't
So
sign a waiver. No waivers.
right. They don't. Yeah. They please don't sign anything.
Yeah.
They put that in front of you. Just turn around and leave.
Yep. Yeah. That's a bad news thing for sure. You don't want to get
Yep.
yourself in a situation where you can be sued by the employer for saying that you got sick there or
Right.
something.
Right.
Yeah, that's bad news. And there have been some reports of those types of waivers being disguised as a health survey.
Yeah.
And it has like a couple questions like, oh, do you have a cough? Are you sneezing? Da, da, da. Do you have a temperature? And then the fine print has all that waiver stuff in there. So watch out for that. Watch out. Make sure you read everything you ever sign, especially if it's a record contract. Woo.
Sure.
But
And we all want to go back to work, but we got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Gotta do and be smart about it,
Absolutely.
and realize that it's up to us to protect our own best interests.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what supporting your union's all about too, as
Yep.
well. Yeah. Yep. My goodness. Yeah. So. Oh man. Well, all right. I think that's all I've got on the docket today. Oh well, I guess we did have a little bit of news with the venues. Well, in the interest of music venues, at the city hall meeting yesterday, there was
Yeah, that's
sort of
right.
a relief effort, passed through the city council in Austin here, about music venues. The 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 trick is, or not the trick, but the catch is that the funding has not been decided yet. So it's like it's the will is there, but the money is not actually allocated. I don't think is that my
Yeah.
understanding. Is that, did you hear about that?
I did, and
Mm-hmm.
I walked away with the question of when is this hotel tax money going to be allocated?
Mm-hmm.
Where is that, which was supposed to be to help the live music scene?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's a big question that keeps coming up. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of different
there's no answer.
ideas.
Yeah,
Yep, a lot of different ideas of what to do with it, and of course it's stopped coming in, because the hotels have the business is so far down because of the pandemic. But a lot of it did come in starting last fall, so
yeah,
there's money in there, but there's no new money really coming in. But yeah, yeah, there is some funding there, and they part of it did go to some of the relief funds, I believe, right?
yeah. Because they're saying that they want to redo the convention center,
Mm-hmm,
and that the taxpayers won't put the bill because the money's already there
mm-hmm.
from that tax for the entertainment.
Yeah.
So there is money sitting somewhere that could be allocated now,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to an upgrade for a convention center, if you ask me. But
Yeah. Yeah, and there was that demonstration on Wednesday of musicians down at City Hall. That did you see that? There were some musicians came
yeah,
and they brought instruments and then didn't play. It was like the silent demonstration, which I thought that's a good idea. Yeah, and we knew several people.
very powerful.
A lot of union members are down there, and yeah, there was some things said down there. Some folks were asking about that convention center expansion project, and how the musicians supported that because it was going to create the live music fund and all that. And so there was some outrage expressed about that. And yep.
Put it nicely.
Yep. There has been
It
some
was,
some talk around on Facebook about the creative workers grant that recently was processed by the Better Business Bureau, and some folks were upset that was handled by the Better Business Bureau, and
right.
yeah,
I've heard it put that people were asking questions rather firmly.
rather firm. Oh yes, that's a that's a polite way to say it. I like that. Rather firmly. Yes. Yeah. So. Yep. So things are definitely happening, and we appreciate the demonstrators.
Yes,
Expressing their voices down there, and I hope everybody stays safe. That's considering going to demonstrate anything. Stay safe.
stay safe.
It's our right to do that, but it's also our right to do it safely so that we all stay
Right.
healthy. And yeah, yeah, definitely. Stay distant and wear the mask, and yeah. But that is getting things done this year. I mean, it's really opening a lot of eyes. All the demonstrations are definitely changing the conversation. So
It is. It's kind of changing the landscape, which it's about time.
yeah, yeah, a lot of things that we weren't talking about 12 months ago.
Right.
Everybody's talking about. I mean, like my
Yeah.
grandma's talking about. It's like
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
So
So yeah, yeah. Thank you, Grandma.
about time.
But anyway, yeah. So okay. Well, I think that's all I have on the agenda for today. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention, Russell?
I think just get involved and stay involved.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I guess we should mention the AFL-CIO fundraiser is next week on Wednesday,
Yes.
and that's that is actually a music concert, and so yeah, support the AFL-CIO. I think that's the funds are being raised for their scholarship program, and some union members are performing on there, so that's good. So our brother Robert Earl Keane is on there, so
Yes.
solidarity, and yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's all I have. That's all we've got for this week. If you're in the music business, stay in the music business and don't give up. And we're going to get through this thing together. And yeah, all
The
right. Thank
business of music continues.
you. Right on, Russell. Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
See you guys.